My name is Charlie, and I'm a dance artist from Lebanon originally, and I'm living in Amsterdam at the moment. And yeah, I've been living here for 4 years and working as a freelancer, as a performer, and as a maker, as a choreographer. And it's just been a wonderful, messy, gorgeous, challenging, and uplifting roller coaster that I'm very blessed to be on. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Of course, in this situation, this pandemic, have had my whole life shift, like many or all of us. And I had maybe in the next 3 months, next 2 months, something like 15 performances that are canceled of my own work and of companies that I work with as a performer. So that's at first was pretty a bit of a devastating sensation of uncertainty and anxiety, which a week after kind of turned into this inner peace and this appreciation of the things that I've been overlooking in my life because of the speed and the pressure in which I've been working under.
Yeah.
Which, for freelancers can be a lot. You're juggling, especially making and performing for others. So it's leading a double life that can be quite heavy at times. So it's actually been, haven't felt this rested and collected in a long time.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, and I mean, I know in the past from speaking with you, you're always like one project after another, more than once at a time, and so I can imagine at first it was definitely a shock, probably, and devastation, like you said. But it's good that you can feel you have that space now, probably well-deserved rest.
Yeah, and I think there's a value in this shock. Like I think a lot of change that needs to be shaped is often painful at first, but then it's maybe necessary to then realize certain habits about your life or certain ways in which you've been functioning that maybe haven't been helping you or others around you. So yeah, it's I'm now getting excited about coming back to things, of course, with the possibility of incorporating these shifts that I've been experiencing. So it's a bit early, of course, but I'm already feeling the seeds of excitement.
Yeah, that's great. And how have you been spending these days? It's what, the 4th week now or 5th week in isolation?
Yeah. Yeah, so for me, I mean, when the quarantine started, I was actually in Germany. I was doing a residency.
Okay.
I was there with for a piece that I'm making. I was there with my team, and we were together in a city called Heilbronn, which is a small town. And we were just so deep in the creative process. And then slowly this news of Corona started to emerge very quickly and kind of invading the process. And all of a sudden, we kind of came upon this existential question of like, why are we doing this in the first place if everything's going to be canceled? Right. And so we were lucky to come back right when the travel restrictions got very strict. And so the first week, it was kind of a week of mourning,
Yeah.
of just realizing and recognizing what is actually happening, and that I might have to let go of a lot of expectations of my life and of my work and of my definitions of what it meant for me to feel successful and to feel good about what I'm doing. And so after that kind of difficult week, I kind of just let go, and I gave in to the flow and gave in to time and to the days passing. And in a way, have been returning in a very deep way to my body. Um, I've been practicing a lot of Qigong. This has been a big part of my life
What is
since
Qigong?
the
Can
since
you
the
explain? I've never done Qigong.
Qigong. Yeah, Qigong is a Taoist practice for healing and for moving energy in the body around, and it's a very beautiful way to connect to the body.
Mm.
And Qi means energy, and Gong means work, right? So you're working the energy of your body, and it's all based around the principles of that there's energy meridians in your body. There are meridians in your body that energy flows through, and you're basically moving this energy around and creating a balance in your body, and but also moving the energy around you, so in the space. And we also engage in more acupressure.
Okay.
So this in traditional Chinese medicine, there's points in the body that are kind of like whirlpools of energy that have a concentration of energy. And often what happens is we have too much on one side and too little on the other side. And so it creates a disbalance, which creates blockage or pain. So it's like learning how to also let that flow more.
Okay, even it out.
So I've been learning a lot about this, and doing an online course about it, and learning about anatomy and, like, this all these colors that you associate with certain organs and sounds that you make in order to send to these organs.
Wow.
So that's been a really beautiful learning experience, and it's really kind of teaching me how to give in to whatever is taking place, and yield into the situation, um, and allow myself to be as vigilant and present as possible to deal with it.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of that. I've been doing a lot of online classes, which is very out of my comfort zone,
Yeah.
because I'm not a very online person.
Yeah.
But it's been quite amazing, actually. I'm super inspired by all the generosity that's taking place,
Yeah.
from educators and teachers and people willing to share their practice. I haven't stepped up to it yet because I'm not feeling very like online these days. So and I'm honoring that.
Yeah, that's okay.
Um, as a public presence. So there's that. I've been reading a lot, like, just really taking the time to read, and um, doing, a lot of body work other than classes, like a lot of somatic work,
Yeah.
meditation, spending time with people in my house,
Yeah.
which I haven't been able to because I've traveled so much, with my girlfriend, really quality time, like talking a lot, learning about each other.
Beautiful.
I live in a collective house and a collective building, so it's also nice to be involved more.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And I have a question. You just brought up how you travel a lot, and I'm wondering if you can talk a bit about when you perform in different places, because I know you have. Um, do you are you able to tell the difference of where you are, or or the reaction you get back from an audience, or how you feel depending on where you are in the world?
Yeah, I think every theater is a microcosm of its own city.
Mm.
And although they have similar structures, there are, details and interactions that have become very different with the crew members, with the people who receive you, etc. And of course, our cells react differently to where we are, and that's something I pay a lot of attention to in preparing my body for performances. Where am I, and where does this place hold in my collective memory and in my kind of ancestral memory? It's something I try to place a lot. Like, what is this place relative to me and my history?
Right.
And then, of course, there's the audience, which you meet in silence, which is also always a very beautiful experience.
Mm-hmm.
In the kind of dance we do, anyways, the audience is watching, and it's dark, and you can't see them. Mm-hmm. You meet in silence, and you kind of feel them in silence for an hour. And I find this always it's like a blind date, it's always so beautiful. And then, yeah, of course, at the end of the performance, as you drop your guard, right, as a performer, they drop their guard as audience members. They're lit, and they're clapping for you or not clapping or whatever. And that's always a very special moment. And the most special moment is when a performance ends, that moment between the ending of the show and when the audience begins to clap. It's like this silence and this emptiness that's like we're all there together in the dark. It's a very beautiful sensation.
Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of an Inuit expression.
What's that?
It's a word. It's kartsaluni.
Okay.
Which means sitting together in the dark, waiting for something to happen. And I think for me that's it defines that moment so well, but it also in a way defines what we're going through right now. As a global community.
Yeah, totally. And that's a beautiful image. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We're waiting.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And it puts us in this this very vulnerable place, and to take up our time. At least I know I'm trying to not feel the sensation of waiting, because that can last forever, and it leaves you, or it leaves me at least, in this place of not being active in the moment, being in the present moment. Making use of this time that we're given, rather than just be dependent on the news or the information we get next.
Yeah.
You mentioned to me this idea of responsibility, and I'm wondering, I'm curious if you're talking about in the room as a dancer, your responsibility as being a part of the room, a part of the process, or maybe you're talking more about our responsibility as artists in society and what we deliver to people who are watching. Maybe it's neither of those. What are your thoughts on this responsibility umbrella?
Yeah, I mean, I'm smiling because you're kind of answering the question for me, because for me, I really believe that our smaller actions are they translate into the larger world around us. So the way we are in a dance studio, for example, is the way we will be in society. And I think there's a very fractal nature where we exist, like fractal being where in a snowflake, for example, when you zoom in, there's going to be many snowflakes of the exact same shape, right? And I think as dancers, especially, I find there is often a disconnect in between the way that we are in the studio and the way we are in the world. And I think that that's something that needs to be questioned as a community, how, and especially coming from the kind of higher echelons of the hierarchy in dance, so from choreographers and directors, how do we behave with each other in such a way that it also translates into how we want to behave in the world and with our families and with our partners.
Right.
Of course, there's a professional and personal separation that needs to happen, but it's something that I really have been thinking about a lot, especially since making work and starting to make work and having a team that works for me,
right,
or rather with me, right? But at the end of the day, it's like I'm still hiring these people to work on my project, but how do we engage together responsibly so that everyone feels respected and dignified and wants to be there and is making something together. Of course, there's different ways of making work. Even when it's the work of one person, there are ways of working together, right? It doesn't have to be a collective work. So it's a huge question that I think isn't addressed enough in the dance world. But yeah, we've all seen abusive behavior in the studio, and we've all been witness to and to moments where we wanted to do something about it and we couldn't,
right,
in the dance studio, and we couldn't, or we feel like we can't, But then if you go on the street and you see someone yelling at someone else and abusing them, you won't hesitate to do something, right? Why is there this difference?
Yeah.
And this is something I continually ask. And this, can translate into on a political level,
right,
on anything, because the structures we create as dance companies or choreographers are mirrors of the structures that will be in society. So
yeah. Yeah. Oh, I had a thought when you were speaking, but I've lost it.
Sorry.
No. No. But it's okay. We can jump into this idea of political repercussions that you also mentioned to me prior, as dancers or being a dancer. What do you mean by that? Can you explain to me more?
Well, I think as dancers, we're hired to be part of a work. I'm talking as dancers, as choreographers, because that's another thing. The responsibility is different. As dancers, we're hired to be in someone's work, right? To engage in their ideas, in their politics, in their aesthetics, to have a conversation with it, ideally. and we're also not uh, we're not doing this work in isolation. It's not in a vacuum. It's always in the context of a country or a place or whatever. Um, and I think in these creative processes, there are dynamics that, we just spoke about, that are inherently to be questioned and unhealthy. But also, how do we deal with the subject matter that we're dealing with, right? And where is our role in questioning the choreographer who is proposing these subject matters?
Right.
I mean, a great example for me is Betsheva. It's, they're a massive company who make beautiful work.
Yeah.
And this is undeniable, right? The work is beautiful. But there is also a context in which they're creating that is not addressed enough, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And that's the context of the occupation of Palestine, right? So then, as a dancer, you're like, okay, I'm dancing in this company. Like, what does that represent?
Right.
On a global political level.
Right.
How can I engage with this practice without? How can I engage and question and remain critical of this practice without, cutting myself off from the pleasure of being there? Right. That's
right.
Because it is probably a very beautiful place to be and to be dancing.
Right.
But I think there's a lack of questioning there.
And maybe of conversation as well, because maybe there's questioning going on internally.
Maybe.
But possibly, right? And then from the outside, it would be nice, or like the next level to hear about that, make it more of a discussion, that the outside is aware that it's happening.
Yeah. And I'm sure all of the dancers there are lovely people. I know some of them, some of them, and I know people who used to dance. They're all beautiful souls, and it's not about that, I just wish there was a more public conversation about it. And that's not just in the hands of the dancers.
Right.
Of course, it's hard for the dancers because they're being employed by this company. But then it's like, also maybe the company, like Ohad Naharin and all these people, maybe need to have a public and clear discourse around what's taking place in Israel,
Right.
I'm not saying they should hit themselves like that, but it's like, it's bizarre for me that there is an absence of conversation.
Yeah.
So
and have you
in this kind of way. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you are you also speaking from a personal sense of maybe a project or projects you've been in where you maybe don't relate or agree with a statement that is being said, and have you found yourself in that place?
Yeah. I I don't wanna give names or anything, but it's like I have been part of. One of my first jobs as a dancer put me in a situation where I was performing and representing something I really didn't agree with, right? But because in a way it was my first job and it was in Europe, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't allow myself to question the politics, or I was questioning it very much.
Yeah.
I didn't allow myself to communicate what I was really feeling out of fear of jeopardizing either my employment or the process, because there are other people involved in the process. So that's what makes it very complicated, right?
Yeah.
It's like you don't want to be the killjoy.
Totally.
and you don't want to be the person stirring trouble. But then I think we're taught a bit too much as dancers in dance schools to not
Yeah.
cause trouble.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think we need to not see it as causing trouble, but rather see it as having a conversation that will bring the process forward,
Yeah.
right?
And
But it's
elevate
just
the
because
entire,
we work.
sorry. I was going to say, and elevate
No,
the
no.
entire the dance industry or community as a whole,
Yeah,
you know? Sorry.
yeah. And there's wonderful choreographers really thinking on these lines, you know,
Yeah.
but it's hard to be doing that. It's just hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of work to really, in the context of funding, in the context of limited resources, in the context of limited time and deadlines,
Mm-hmm.
as from experience, I think it's very difficult to allow for these spaces to have this inclusivity and openness, etc. Because there's so much pressure going on and so much stress from all over the place. It's like you really have to make it a very strong and willful intention. And I think that's something that needs to be communicated more and needs to be encouraged more.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah. And earlier on in the conversation, when we were speaking, something came up, and my first thought had been going back to the education of dance and our training.
Yeah.
I truly believe that a lot of what shapes us in the professional world comes down to how we were trained, you know, and this very, especially in like a ballet school setting or something that's very strict, you know, with the approach of dance and how to, and really the hierarchy of a teacher and student. And then all of a sudden we're in the professional world, and sometimes it needs to be more even, you know, even if someone is still leading the room or there's a director of the company. Like, I really believe that the dancers should be able to voice their opinion, you know, as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely like you hear all the time this fear of, you know, of what will happen, the consequences, let's say. Yeah.
And I think, I mean, I wish that in dancers trainings there's more of a focus along with all the technical stuff, right, which is super important. There's a focus on encouraging dancers to educate themselves about, you know, colonial history, about body politics, about feminism, about sexual politics, about labor politics, you know, all these things that I think make you a more conscious to begin with and perceptive human being, but also will make you a very valuable artist and a dancer for yourself and the community around you, right?
Yeah.
And personally, I think it makes you a better dancer.
Yeah.
But because, I really think the more you understand or try to understand of the world, the more you have this presence in space that is, that is, I don't know what word to use. Yeah, special or moving, open.
Yeah. Have something to say.
Yeah. There. Thanks.
Didn't really finish the sentence, but it was the same type of idea. Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that was, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed all of that. Thank you. Lots to ponder, and your words are so clear. I so enjoy talking to you, Charlie. All the time.
Yeah. I mean, just like if we're closing, right? Are we closing? Or I just there's something. I mean, I just want to to share, like that I've been thinking about in the last day or two, is this idea of I might not be able to articulate it, but I'll try. It's this idea of and it has to do with what's happening now and with how we're trying to handle ourselves and trying to look to the future. And it's this idea of radical imagination. And I think we have to ask ourselves, like, how can we as a community radically reimagine how we exist together and how we exist as individuals connected, because we're going to need that. We're going to need to reimagine our future existence as artists, and in doing so, I think this is a perfect moment to dream up of possibilities that benefit us instead of looking towards going back to surviving.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think we should really take it upon ourselves to reimagine a future where we're empowered as dancers.
Yeah.
Because I think there's,
Yeah, totally. We have that time, you know, the world has given us this time and space now, and I mean, it's easier said than done, for sure.
Yeah, but we need to learn how to dream together and beyond fear. You know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I love that. Yeah. Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you.